Good morning, everybody. I'd like to formally introduce myself. Haven't done that yet for you guys. I haven't told you a lot, but I'd like to do that right now. My name is Shelley Suzanne Abbott. I go by Shelley S. Abbott, using my middle initial most of the time. And I'm 67 years old. I was born in New Bern, North Carolina. My dad was a Marine at the Cherry Point base. And I spent most of my life on the eastern shore of Maryland, where my dad and mom moved back to after he got out of the Marines. In 1971, I graduated from high school. I enlisted in the United States Army, and I spent the next 6 years in San Antonio, Texas at Fort Sam Houston before returning home to Maryland. I've worked as a short order cook, waitress, auto parts warehouse manager, storm window fabricator, glass cutter, veterinarian's assistant, a marina manager, a sous chef, and a metal fabricator, just to name a few things. And I began I began my music career at the age of 13. That's when my dad and my parents gave me an old Gibson guitar. My daddy taught me 3 chords, G, C, and D, and with a little minor chord of E and A, and said, go learn the rest yourself. And I did, from music books and other self-taught guitarists that would come to family gatherings and play at Christmas, all the Christmas carols and things like that. So at the age of 26, I performed my first live solo act. It was at a local VFW. My mom and dad, well, actually my mom, she kind of volunteered my services without asking. And I ended up doing it, but I was so nervous on stage, I felt like my voice was like melt till it's shaking all the whole time, but it wasn't. It was an interior shake. But after that, I proclaimed I would never perform as a solo act again. The next day, I went out and formed a band, that weekend actually, and they were local musicians, and we called our group Crystal Blue. Now, within days, we were in the studio, a local studio, and I was recording my first song that I ever wrote, which was Pretending You Still Care, which I wrote at the age of 14. And the flip side of the 45 that we recorded was Ruby Baby by Dion. Why, I'll never know, but the boys and man wanted to do that song, so we did that song. Right after that, we went back in the studio because that 45 was such a success. Can't get my C's and S's out today. That we recorded an LP, which was a 33 RPM on vinyl, and that was called Changing Seasons, and that was all original music that my steel guitar player and his wife and I wrote. And that did well. We sold a big old 1,000 copies of it, give or take 100, and gave away some. And I continued to play with different bands over the next few years, mostly country music. And we played for, I don't know, honky tonks and bar rooms and county fairs and some fraternal organizations. But won some contests. We were pretty good, actually. But, you know, there was always that hold back of singing only country music and maybe some oldie rock and roll. But I don't know, I had my sights set on something higher. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be different. I wanted to be able to meet the needs of ages 6 and 7 up to 90. And sometimes you couldn't play those songs. You couldn't do Sinatra and play country music. The bass man would have gone crazy, or the drummer trying to learn a jazz tune. So then came the cassette tapes, which were karaoke cassette tapes. And I was like, wow, you know, I sing and I can play guitar, so why can't I use these as background music? Then I don't have to worry about the bass man or the guitarist or the lead man or the steel man having to go to a kid's baseball game and not being able to perform that night, or, you know, little league soccer games, whatever. And so I decided to start playing as a single act again, and I did that. I played live on using soundtracks and my guitar on weekends, and then I performed karaoke. Now, when you were using cassette tapes, we had to have an extra person with me because that person would go out into the car and would cue up my next song for me if it was a request. But before the performances, I would do a whole segment of songs and pre-record them and then just play them and sing to them. And then came the, then after that it was 8 tracks. No, not 8 tracks, excuse me, not 8 tracks. Next came the CDs, the CDs. And karaoke went massively big. And I was already using it, and I thought, well, I have all these things, so what if I do karaoke? So I started being a KJ, karaoke jock, during the week at local bars, and then playing my live music on weekends. So that went really great. Now, I wrote my first song at 14, but I've continued to write music ever since then. And I didn't produce them after that one album, but I have lots of compositions that I've done, and none of them really made it past local recognition, but I have some great songs. I think they're great, but everybody who writes music thinks their songs are great. So that brings me to about 3 months ago when I discovered quarantine karaoke. And my first performance on there, after that, the rest is kind of like history. I started developing a following, a fan base, and now to date we have almost 7,000 followers. Anita, I'm married. I have a wife. Her name is Anita. She's an RN, and she supports my music 100%. She sings as well. Not to the degree that I do, but she loves show tunes and she loves to sing with me. And she's never done it, professionally, but she's performed in musicals and things like that. I was recently interviewed by a local TV station, WBOC TV in Salisbury, and they did a segment on our music and the karaoke, quarantine karaoke that we were doing. And I am now working on my very first acoustic CD or compilation, and that should come out within the next few months. I perform daily for my internet fans, and the future looks bright. As a matter of fact, today I had a very first conversation with an agent / manager in hopes of maybe progressing with my music career. I'd love to get out on the road to be with you guys and see you guys and sing for you in person, and that's my plans, is to do that. So Anita and I would like to get to know all of you better, and I'd like to pursue my music career a little bit further. So there's a little bit about me, and I hope that I'll get to know all of you a little better. And thanks for listening. Have a great morning.